Oh, man, does it always feel good to take out the Chicago Cubs. The Cardinals took 2 of 3 from the Cubbies this weekend at Busch Stadium. I have some thoughts on the crowds and some more thoughts on the Cardinals right now on the state of the fan base. But come on, let's just celebrate the fact that the Cardinals have beat the Cubs. Good series win over one of the best teams in the National League. The Cardinals are, they're technically not out of the playoff race right now. So we're not going to do some whole are the Cardinals contenders conversation today. But I do think on this episode of Dealing the Cards, it's worth us talking about what would it take for the Cardinals to overcome what is about a 4-game or 3 or 4 game lead in the or deficit in the wild card right now. It's feasible. Well, can they do it? We'll discuss on this episode of Dealing the Cards. Hey, welcome into Dealing the Cards. If you're jumping in after the game or you're watching later, always feels good to take out the Chicago Cubs. Great game today. Sonny Gray pitched.
Are we live?
Yeah, we're live.
Are we live? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we are.
We're live.
No, we're live. We're live. Sonny Gray pitched a gem today. Shota Imanaga didn't pitch bad, but he didn't pitch well enough. The bullpen was nails. Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman combined for the winning run today. Pedro Paez went deep. Obviously, Friday's game was a really fun 5-0 victory, but they didn't show up on Saturday for the 9-0 loss to the Cubs. Again, we knew this team wasn't bad, right? I think some people were freaking out right after the deadline with that Padres series that like, oh, this team is so bad and they're not even win 76 games out. It's like, no, they didn't fall off that much after the deadline and in this month. They have it in them to have these kinds of series. But what we've seen with this club all year long is they can ride these highs and then immediately have the lowest of lows the very next day. So really fun game today, but I think it's worth having a conversation about what would actually take for this team to make a run to October to push for a wild card spot. Obviously, the Milwaukee Brewers are not going to be giving up that NL Central lead at this point. Honestly, that's another conversation for another day is how much the Milwaukee Brewers have lapped the St. Louis Cardinals and how we should be paying attention to the Brewers as an organization that the Cardinals should be trying to emulate long-term. Again, they can do more than that in this market, but it is something to look at within the class of the NL Central. This isn't the same old weak NL Central anymore where a team like the Cardinals or the Cubs theoretically should run away with it. The Cardinals honestly have a lot to learn from a team like the Milwaukee Brewers. But Andrew, obviously you saw this game go down tonight. Did this team inspire any kind of confidence in you that they can actually push for the playoffs?
I mean, we're missing a critical part of our core here who would tell us that maybe they are. But I think
true. If Sandy was with us right now, he would.
Yeah, it's a shame that he couldn't join us tonight. But I know he thinks that these games are important for. Well, I think they're important just for a different reason. Like I think he thinks they're important in the sense that maybe the Cardinals can get to the postseason. I don't think that that's really something that we should be looking at this point. But it does inspire confidence that this team. I've been saying it for a while. Like the young players on this team have what it takes to beat up on some of the better teams in baseball, right? Like you took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, even though the Dodgers technically won that third game if you watch MLB Network, which I don't. And the Cubs have been really scuffling, but they're still not a bad team, right? Like, a lot of their big bats, Kyle Tucker hasn't been hitting, Suzuki hasn't really been hitting. PCA has been just absolutely terrible. But they're still a good, well put together team. And you face 2 of their better starters and you beat both of them. And you beat both lefty starters too, which is encouraging to see. Pedro Paez obviously had a big hit today, and then Gorman and Walker contributed the game-winning run. So I think there's a lot of things to be excited for. The bullpen especially seems to be good. JoJo had a couple of hiccups today in the 9th inning. Honestly, I think the Cubs might win the game if Paez doesn't throw out the pinch runner there. But it ended up going the Cardinals' way, and I think a lot of things have gone right for the Cardinals over the last week. A lot of things went right for them to take that series finale. After being down, a lot of things had to go right for them today. Imanaga seemed to be pretty locked in, unfortunately. But also, like, not everything's gone the right way, right? Like, they were able to get out of Gorman's error, which cost them 2 runs with the homer from Matt Shaw. Like that was unfortunate, and maybe having Arenado back in like a week or whenever he's supposed to come back will help with that. But it seems to me like the players on the field still think there's something to play for, which I don't know how much that's going to conflict with necessarily them, playing the guys that need to play. Because I think Walker has, I think Walker out of all the young guys deserves probably, we can have this discussion. It was blown up the other day, thanks to Kareem and in part to myself. But I think out of all the young guys, Walker probably deserves the least amount of runway at this point. I would say that that's fair.
Wait,
but I still think
Walker deserves the least?
Yeah, I mean, like instead of Burleson or like Donovan or like Newbar, like I wouldn't sit one of those guys in favor of Walker, but I still think that there is something there, and I hope that he figures it out. I'm not rooting against him, obviously, but I think, well, other than like Pedro Pajes, right? Like, I think aside from the homer today, I think we can agree that if Herrera was behind the plate, then a lot of the issues would be fixed with runway and situations like that. But I think out of all of the young guys on this team, we can have this discussion later. But I am encouraged by what I see in a lot of the young players throughout the last couple of series.
Yeah, I think something that the broadcast brought up today, I know we get, I don't know if a lot of reviewers will agree with this, but I think when people look at when national media looks at this team, they're very quick to compliment Ollie Marmol and the job he's done with this team. And I mean, again, we can't do the revisionist history thing and act like we can't do the revisionist history thing and act like people didn't think Craig Counsell was an incredible manager when the Cubs snatched him from the Milwaukee Brewers. And obviously, the Milwaukee now, I guess you could do a little bit here because the Milwaukee Brewers continue to be a juggernaut without him, and juggernaut in terms of they're developing players and winning at a rate that it just doesn't seem like they should be able to for their market size and what they're doing. But my point is, you look over at that other dugout and all the talent that Chicago Cubs have, and again, they're obviously have a better record than the Cardinals right now, and they're in a better spot, but they should be, right? Like this Cardinals team, most people coming into this year severely doubted the ability of this club and what they could do. Very few people thought they'd be even sniffing contention, let alone be where they're at right now today. And I think it's been a successful year. And you look back at last year too, and people want to act like it was a bad year. And yes, by the Cardinals' overall standards, it was. But also coming into the year, there were a lot of people after 2023 who thought the 2024 Cardinals were going to be just as bad. And they had like a 14-game improvement or 12-game improvement, something like that. I just think Ollie deserves a lot more respect than people give him. I think if you haven't, and I mean, if you're someone who doesn't like Ollie, I'm okay if you don't think he's a good manager, if you don't think he's the right guy, it's whatever. I'm not going to die on the hill. But I'm just some people, it's not worth arguing, but I really do want to encourage people to check out his Tuesday spots on KMOX. You can go on YouTube and find them. You can go on their Spotify and find them with Bernie, Tom Ackerman. Like the Gas House Gang guys get to chat with him every Tuesday and ask him questions that come from YouTube and Twitter. Like Ollie looks at the text line as it's coming through in the comments and will respond to things. He responds to their questions. He went on 101 ESPN this week on BK and Ferrario and had a really good interview. I think when you get him in these long form conversations and it's not just 3-minute sound bites after a win or a loss, you get to see into the mind of a guy that I really think is a good fit for this team as it moves toward a youth movement and really trying to rebuild what the Cardinal way looks like. And honestly, the fact that he's not intimidated by having Yadi sit at his side all weekend, this would have been a non-story. I'm guessing no one would have known. Maybe Yadi would have leaked it, but if the Cardinals didn't want him there, Ollie didn't want him there, Ollie had in his full rights to say no. And instead, he's been texting Yadi. He's been encouraging Yadi for years. He wants Yadi by his side in that dugout, and we all know what that means. The second Yadi's in that dugout, it has to become. I mean, honestly, it's a conversation for us. We're going to talk about it at some point. We just are. We're going to talk, and because you should. Like when you have two franchise icons like Albert and Yadi wanting to manage, you have to talk about it. But Ollie's done such a good job, in my opinion, that I think it's like, I don't know if you go that direction. I really don't think you do. And then the flip side of it too, like even beyond Yadi, it's like he brought in Skip Schumacher as his bench coach in year one. And like he was asked about that on 101 ESPN this week. And he's like, yeah, Skip could sit in my seat and do a great job. Like, And he wanted Matt Holliday to be his bench coach after that. And obviously Holliday ended up backing out of it. He's brought in Daniel Descalso, who's anyway, is viewed as a future manager in this league. He continues to invite strong leaders around him. And I think that's a sign of good leadership, as someone who's not afraid to invite that kind of that kind of potential around him, knowing that he's replaceable. And especially in a game like baseball, like all jobs are replaceable. But like when you talk about like professional coaches and stuff like those, like it feels like the shelf life on those jobs is really short. And especially when you're going to put someone like that next to you in the dugout. Again, that's a side tangent just to say, like, I think he's got what it takes. And so that's just another thing from the series, that he continues to navigate a great bullpen the last 2 years. Like, he's done a great job managing it. And anytime you trade away your two highest leverage relievers at the deadline and an important swingman, and honestly, the bullpen doesn't really feel like it's missed much of a beat. Like, it has a little bit. Like, you had that Ryan Fernandez blow up and stuff. But, like, honestly, it's just been really fun to watch how he's navigated this team. The one critique I actually do have with him right now, and it's what you just alluded to, of Walker not necessarily needing to be the runway guy, or he deserves the least amount of runway. I think we could argue all day about who deserves the most runway, who deserves the least. But honestly, I don't love that they aren't willing to spread the wealth out a little bit more. Like, at this point in the season, with the hand he's been dealt of this roster, I'm sorry. Like, I love Mason Wynn. I love Alec Burleson. I love Brendan Donovan. I love Willson Contreras. But those guys don't have to play literally every day. Like, if the Cardinals took their 9-man lineup and outside of catcher, so those other 9 guys that need to play, because every day at least 1 or 2 guys are sitting, if they just had them all sit one time in a rotation, they would have each of the guys they need to play would play 8 out of every 9 games, which is on pace for like 145 games out of 162. I think that's plenty of runway. And to me, that's better than having 1 or 2 guys that you really want to see and get more information on ride the bench a lot more than that. And so I didn't throw Thomas to JC in that mix for me. I think when he gets starts, it's I love it for him, but I'm not prioritizing it for him right now. I am prioritizing it for all of Gorman, Walker, Nootbaar, Burleson, Scott, Wynn, Contreras, Donovan. I feel like Walker. I feel like I've missed someone in there. Like, all these guys should be playing almost every day right now, and they can't afford to say, "Oh, Herrera, I missed him." Like, they can't afford to say, "Hey, Herrera's never going to sit," or "Burleson's never going to sit," or Donnie's been sitting because he's been hurt. But when they're healthy with this much time left in the season, they got to play him. And you're already seeing the Weatherhold calls in the chat, and I don't blame people. But like, what do you think is going to be like when Weatherhold gets thrown in this mix? Like, it's already messy enough where you've got 2 guys sitting every day. That's like, unless Scott's out of lineup, but some argue with Scott's one of those guys that shouldn't be out of the lineup. But basically, you have 2 guys every day that should be playing, aren't playing. And then you're also going to add Weatherhold to that mix. Like, they got to be more creative with it. That's my one critique of Ollie so far. But otherwise, I know you're a huge Ollie fan. I've loved what I've seen from him.
Yeah, I mean, the Cardinals have the same run differential as the Braves, and they're like 8.5 games ahead of them right now. So I feel like that's pretty telling. Also, sorry, Braves manager. Now you have to deal with Eric Fetty. Sorry about that. But I just think he's done a great job managing. Like, there's 1,000 different things he has to balance, and that's really difficult for anybody to do. And he's done a great job keeping the Cardinals like close-ish to the race. I think he's done a great job giving all of the young guys playing time. Now, Walker's played 5 games in a row. Like, I think he's earned more playing time than he was getting like before. But I mean, like, when you go through all of the guys and who you think is probably closest to where the core is, and like maybe you think Nootbaar should be traded or you think Gorman should be traded, but that doesn't make any sense to sit guys that you want to consider trading.
True.
Because they're not going to have value if you do that. So, like, you have Win in there every day, which I think is perfectly fine. Like, he's probably the most valuable player on this team from an offensive perspective. Herrera has been in there every day. He's been your best bat by far. He's the only one consistently with an OPS over like 850. Contreras is, well, one, you're paying him. 2, he's producing, so I don't really see an issue with that. Burleson, I think, has definitely earned the runway over Walker. He's just produced over the last 2 years at a rate far better than Walker has. And the defense, I feel like, is pretty similar, if not, like it could go either way with defensively for those 2. Gorman, I think, has earned it. He's been better than Walker over the last 2 years as well. He has power that I think you can't really find anywhere else on this roster. Donovan has earned that playing time. Scott defensively, like having him in center is definitely a plus. I don't think that Walker should sit most of the time. I think you should find a way to get him in there. But also, I think out of all of the guys that I just listed, I think he's definitely the guy that I would play the least. He does have pretty good upside, but just over the last 3 years, it's been rough. And I like he's had hot stretches in the past. Like at the end of last season, it was getting a little bit better. But I don't know how much patience I can have with Walker at this point because there just really hasn't been anything really to dream upon for more than like a week or two. Like now, if he keeps producing, then yeah, I would say maybe prioritize him over some of these guys. But like, I don't think you can tell me right now that you should prioritize Walker's development over playing Burleson every day because I think Burleson would just produce more, and he has produced more. And Burleson had to earn that playing time too, right? Like he didn't get it last season. He didn't get it to start this season either. He's earned that, and I think you should just do that. Like just let him play and run with it. I feel like the one that I see compared on Twitter all the time is Nolan Gorman, but I think similarly, like I don't know if I would say Gorman has a higher ceiling than Walker. I think both of them have struggled, have their own struggles recently, but like Gorman at his best, I think is a player this team needs more than Walker at his best, where like you need that power production. Because like neither of them are going to be like great defenders, right? Like neither of them are going to do that. So it's the offensive power production that you want.
Yeah,
and Walker just hasn't shown that he can hit for power yet. Like it just hasn't, like not at all.
Well, not to the ways we want him to, but I do.
Like, even in this hot stretch, he's only hit one homer.
I know, but he has had a lot of extra base hits, and he has shown power before. But you said, but why I reacted like that? You said that the potential, and it's like there is the potential with a Jordan Walker there that was dreamed on, and it's why he was a top prospect of being a middle of the order right-handed bat who can hit for power and average. And I do think for as much like power as Nolan Gorman can offer, he's probably Max Muncy at his best, which is a really good player. So I'm not trying to say that in a negative way at all, but Jordan Walker, if he hits his ceiling, that's
is that still there? Is that ceiling still there though? I just wonder. Jordan Walker has the same number of homers right in his career as Mason Wynn. Like that's not.
I know, but my point. Let me go back and we can go in reverse order. Go to the beginning, which you're actually talk about this here. I'm not saying he's going to get there, but he is 23. We do know what kind of potential he had. It has looked better lately. Like I will defend Kareem's original point to the grave of what he was saying of that Walker in 2.5 years had not done enough at the major league level to just say put him in the lineup and don't care, especially because he was a he was a bottom 10 hitter in all of baseball for most of the season. Like it was that bad. And so when you were that bad for a while, a couple weeks of baseball should not just totally flip it when other guys are producing too. But what I was just trying to lay out for you earlier is you have 9 guys right now that I could say you want to play every day outside of the 2 catchers. And if you play them 8 out of every 9 days, then you get on pace for 142 games in a course of a year, and you're playing every day each week, and then you're getting an off day once a week. Like I feel like that's not a bad, like that's a good happy medium for a team that has a lot of guys that, like, I understand your points that like these other guys have been producing, but I don't think it's fair though for Walker to sit often. And I know you said that shouldn't happen.
No, I agree. I agree with that. I just think that like a lot of the discourse I'm hearing, like I like your idea where it's like you should like sit a different guy every single day. I think that's a better way to go about doing it. But personally, if it's like one guy has to sit more than everyone else until bigger sample of like playing like this, I think it should be Walker. I don't think that this is what should be happening. Like I don't think that that's something that should happen, but I think it should. Like if that did have to happen, Walker would be the guy I was like, unless like for some reason, I mean, I guess Victor Scott maybe would be the guy if you play Nootbaar in center.
I don't even think I don't even know like Nootbaar though. And I'm not saying this as a Nootbaar hater. I'm saying my point.
Why would you kill his value by just sitting him?
If you had to, but you don't have to do this, which is why I don't think it's an argument we should have. Is that you don't have to sit one. You don't have to choose one to sit every day because there is a route where they could play them pretty much every day and it's fair. That's why I'm that's the criticism I'd have of the coaching staff right now is that we have these revolving conversations on Twitter and podcasts about who should be the one to get the playing time. It's like they can all play almost every day. But like, because Mason Wynn likes to play every day, that he can't do it, like, or because Willson
Contreras shortstop if Mason Wynn has to, like, I feel like that's not
okay. So I guess that's where it gets slightly complicated. That you could put Donnie there one day, but they're not going to do that. So it's mostly 8 out of every 9. So it's probably like 7.5 out of every 9 games because of the Mason Wynn dynamic. And you know what? Fine, or let's just do 7 out of 8 days. I think that is a very fair way to do this when you have no one on, like, none of these guys right now are producing bad. Like, I understand Walker's underlying metrics aren't good, but again, they're getting better. They're continuing to get better, and the production is there lately. And honestly, for a guy like him, that's his confidence was so shot. Even like, I think that's important right now, that even if the underlying stuff isn't good, that's gonna have to change if he's gonna do this for years on end and continue to get better. But if he's gonna get there, his confidence needs to be there first. And I do think there's been good, like, you see the confidence change, you see some stance changes, you see some swing path changes. I think it's been getting better. And again, I don't think Kareem's, I just don't think Kareem wasn't saying he shouldn't be playing. But honestly, if you did make me pick someone right now, it would be Nootbaar that should be sitting most days, because even if he did sit most days, I do still think he would have good trade value. I think people are way overstating that his trade value is shot and stuff like that. If you think Jordan Walker's, if you're going to continue to run this next year and you're planning on not continue running with Nootbaar next year, and you had to sit one of them, then run it with the guy that you're going to be keeping around. Don't penalize the one you want to get better. But again,
you blame Mo for not trading Nootbaar.
Mo's the one who's most at fault. But also, even with that, okay, we aren't in the front office, right? Like, we didn't get to see the trade offers, and so, like, if they were getting, which I don't. We'll never know. I believe they probably got some pretty good offers. But if they didn't get good offers, are we like they should just trade Nootbaar for whatever? Like, I don't believe that, because I think someone's going to give you something in the offseason for him. But again, if there really was all these different teams coming after him, I have a hard time believing all these different teams didn't give you any good offers. But that's beside the point. I think it's a weird argument that we all have to have, because there is a route for this to not be an argument, and they don't choose it. And if they went that route and they're playing 7 out of every 8 days, and people are complaining about playing time, then I would just be like, you're being super disingenuous toward the Cardinals, or at least toward the coaching staff, because they don't choose this roster crunch. Mo did. You can complain to Mo all you want, but stop getting mad at Ollie about the lineups if they went that direction. But when there are days where it's like Walker's sitting multiple days in a row, and he's sitting against a lefty, like, one of the days you can get Burleson a day off is against a lefty. It's like, if you're doing the 7 out of every 8 days, you're going to hit a lefty one of those days. Walker can start over him, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think it's a dumb argument to have, and I think it's blown out of proportion. Where, like, I never said I don't want Walker to play. I know I'm not upset when he gets benched. Like, when maybe there's a matchup that isn't, because, like, some of the at-bats are looking better. But there are still times where it's like, okay, why'd you swing at that slider? Like, why'd you do that? And like, the approaches look better, the swings have looked better. It's just that, like, one homer and a couple, like, and like that 3-for-4 game or whatever against the Dodgers, like, 2 of those hits were like some of the, like, you cannot tell me that first one should not be an error on Miguel Rojas. If he touched the ball, it would be an error, right? Like, it's not. Anyway,
I mean, a couple of things real quick in the chat, like, Walker's metrics being skewed, like someone said that from the first half. Yeah, we understand that, but also, if you break it down to just this stretch, he still has an extremely high BABIP. He still has been chasing. You go actually watch the base hits, and they're, like you just said, there have been some that are like an infield hit, an alpha glove, and, like, again, that happens to everyone. So if you went through all Juan Soto's hits, you're gonna find some of those too. It's just when we're talking about a small sample size that everyone's blowing up about, and I'm excited about it too. But when you're isolating it to this really small stretch, then those things really do matter. We're not talking about 180 hits and we're saying, well, 10 of them were bad. We're saying, hey, he had 23 hits and 5 of them were suspect or something, you know? But, like, even then, I feel like we're splitting hairs a little bit. But then the other point too is, like, I know some people being here like, oh, they're not dumb. They know that they need to play everyone. True. But I think we just laid out a potential path to make it even more fair to everyone, and they're not doing that. And part of the reason why is because Mason Wynn likes to play every day. He doesn't like to sit. And it's like, I get it, Mason, but also you have injury problems. So, like, you probably should sit more often. Well, Contreras, I love you, and you are important for that lineup, but it's okay for you to sit 1 out of every 8 games because of what this team's position is in right now, et cetera, et cetera. And that doesn't even include if Nolan Arenado comes back in 2 weeks, or if Mace or JJ Weatherhold enters
Just
the mix.
don't come back.
Please
don't come back.
We'll talk about that, but I'm really hoping he doesn't right now. So let's thank a couple of sponsors of the podcast real quick. Also, like and subscribe, helps the channel a ton. We really appreciate the support tonight. It's been obviously a fun game today. We're talking about the lineup construction, all that, because obviously the Cardinals need to look to 2026, and that's really important right now. That's a big topic of the conversation. But as always, we want to thank 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles for their support. They're the presenting sponsor of the Deal in the Cards podcast. They're located at 9640 Olive Boulevard in Olivet. Open 10 to 5 Monday through Friday and 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. They buy, sell, and trade all sports cards and Pokemon cards. They have the newest selections of packs, boxes, and single cards of local players and stars from around the league, like Atlanta Braves' Eric Fetty, who threw a shutout for the St. Louis Cardinals earlier this year. You can get that card. Andrew, maybe you should put that for sale. Wonder what it's worth. But 314 is awesome. We know many of you already shop there, so make sure you go check them out. Let them know we sent you, and send us the cards when you pull them, or go get some stuff from their case. We also want to tell you about one of our other sponsors, and that's Underdog Sports. The Deal in the Cards podcast is proud to be partnered with Underdog Sports, our favorite place to play fantasy games. You're now eligible to play in Illinois, Missouri, Indiana, and 37 other U.S. states. You got to check out Pick'em. It's so easy to play. You just pick 2 to 8 stats of your favorite players and choose whether they'll go higher or lower. You can win 20 times your money by going 5 for 5. If that sounds like fun, sign up with our promo code CARDS to claim your first free pick plus first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. We can't wait to see your entries. So continuing the conversation tonight, here's a quick hitter one. Were the Cardinals right to hold on to JoJo Romero? I still say no. Okay, I had some people texting me about, like, good thing JoJo's still here, and I'm like,
why?
I mean, yeah, they make the playoffs, sure, it's fun, but like,
they're not making the playoffs, guys.
I know games, I know weekends like this are fun, but like, you still should have traded them.
So now if they sweep the Rockies, no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, they swept the Rockies. They should have went all in. Oh boy.
Well, they should have swept the Rockies the first time, but whatever.
Yeah. So what do the Cardinals need to do to be a playoff team? If that's going to happen? Again, I'm not like it's still within the realm of possibility. It really is. And if you're asking me if they're going to make the playoffs, I'm going to tell you no. I do not think this Cardinals team is making the playoffs. But what are they? They're 3.5 games out of the wild card now. A part of that, again, is because the New York Mets have decided they forgot how to play baseball for a while, which obviously they're playing the Brewers, who are just red hot right now. They're 9-1 in their last 10, while the Mets are the 1-9 in their last 10. But also, to be fair, the number 1 wild card right now, which is still the Cubs, only have a 4.5 game lead over the Cincinnati Reds in the wild card, who are 1.5 back. Obviously, the Cardinals are 3.5 back to the wild card. So I still think the wild card's still very much up in the air. The Padres have been up and down all year. I still would think it'd be a shocker if the playoff picture is not the Brewers, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Cubs, the Padres, and the Mets. But obviously, it's going to take some help from one of those teams falling off. At the same time, the Cardinals have to be a team that excels in that stretch too. Personally, I think it's hard to expect much from the rotation at this point, unless they somehow go to Quinn Matthews and he ends up giving them a shot in the arm. I'm not saying a shot in the arm is, and he's like Paul Skeens down the stretch, but that he's better than what Palante's given them, or what Michaelis has given them. Obviously the bullpen. I think the bullpen's kind of already like a unit that I feel pretty confident in most games. I think it's the offense. I think if this team is gonna, between August 10th and the final weekend series at Wrigley, make a run here, you're gonna have to have this lineup perform like it did in May, right? In the first couple months of the year, where they were like a top 10 unit in all of baseball, and they were putting runs up every day, and you had guys all over the order contributing, and you've seen parts of things like that at different times. But overall, it's been a while since the lineups had that kind of consistency. But we just named a lot of names of guys that are playing pretty good baseball right now and could contribute to that, right? You have a lineup that has, for any given day, Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, Wilson Contreras, Nolan Gorman, Jordan Walker, Ivan Herrera. You might be getting JG Weatherhold in that mix at some point. Hopefully you're not getting Nolan Arenado in that mix at some point. You've got Victor Scott, who has been struggling this summer, but if he ups it a little bit, that's a pretty good 9-hole hitter for you. You got the pieces there to do something, and it's just, are they going to be consistent down the stretch? And I would bet against it, and I would also bet against one of those 3 wildcard teams crashing out. But for me, it's lineup consistency. For you, is there a different thing you would look at for this team to be like the X factor for them to make a run? Or maybe it is for you one of those young prospects. Maybe you're like, they have to be aggressive with bringing up a Quinn Matthews and JJ Weatherhold because they don't have enough juice right now. It doesn't mean those guys will be the juice, but it's like a Hail Mary throw, right? Where you're like, probably won't work, but we're going to throw it to the end zone and see what happens. But what would you say is the X factor for this team outside of, again, obviously the other teams have to kind of not take care of business, but what do the Cardinals have to do to shoot themselves into the conversation and give themselves a shot?
I think they just need to get lucky. I don't know. Like the rotation, I feel like is so bad, or not so bad, so inconsistent that like I just can't see this team going on a meaningful run. Like, when was the last time they won 3 games in a row? I can't. I don't know, but like they have played pretty solidly. I think they need to get lucky in the sense that they just need one of the Mets or the Padres to just completely fall apart. Where like the Mets are kind of doing that right now. I don't know. Like maybe that's just how it is. It seems to be the Mets way of just like spending a bunch of money and then not like achieving the expectations that they've set for themselves. But if you look at the Cardinals schedule for the next couple of weeks, they have the Rockies, the Yankees, the Marlins, the Rays, and the Pirates. And you can make the argument that out of all those teams, the Marlins might be the toughest one to beat.
Yeah,
right?
Yankees have been bad lately.
Yankees have been terrible. The Rays have been falling. The Rockies are the Rockies, and the Pirates are the Pirates, right? Like the Marlins might be the toughest team out of that bunch, and they didn't sell a lot of their starters that we thought they were going to sell at the deadline. So this is a really easy stretch coming up for them. And after the trade deadline, we were like, before the trade deadline, we were talking about the stretch they had after the deadline, where it's like the Padres, the Dodgers, and the Cubs, where it's like, if they had bought at the deadline, we could have seen this team falling apart. But they just took a winning record against those 3 teams, right? They dropped the series against the Padres. They took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, and they took 2 out of 3 from the Cubs. So if they can handle their business against the Rockies this week and the Marlins and the Yankees, and hopefully Aaron Judge doesn't, I think they're running Stanton out there in the outfield, which is funny. But like the Rays have been struggling. If they can take care of the Pirates, I think there's a shot that we see this team within a game or 2 at the end of the month, right? And then they finish the month with the Reds, which are a team that's ahead of them. So hopefully they can take care of business there too. And then you go into September and maybe you're playing meaningful baseball, but like I think a lot of things have to break right for you. I think the Mets have to stay being bad. I think the Padres maybe need to fall a little bit. The Reds need to fall a little bit, but I think it's doable. I think a lot of things have to break right for this team where I don't even want to think about it, man.
Well, I mean, to your point, like I think ultimately they really have to not just take advantage and go like +2 over those series. Like they have to run away with this stretch of series here, because then you turn the page to September and you've got the A's, the Giants. Okay, those are whatever, But then you got Seattle, Milwaukee, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, San Francisco, Chicago to end the year. Like that's brutal. You play the Brewers twice in that stretch, who are the best team in baseball at the start.
I think the Brewers will come down to earth.
That's true.
I don't think they'll lose the division, but I think by then they might not be like, because like I don't know what's going on over there, but I don't know.
I will say
it does not feel sustainable to me.
I would hope that, but at this point, like I've been betting against them for so long that they have.
We're also looking at series that probably won't mean anything by the time we get there.
But my point is, like, if they for sure won't mean anything if they don't like take 2 of 3 in all of these series going forward that you just named. This easier quote unquote stretch, because it does get really tough in September. And I do think there is a world, again, if you're trying to talk, I'm not trying to say the Cardinals are going to be a contender in September, because I don't believe that's going to happen. But if you're trying to talk yourself into the path that this team could go and really push for the playoffs, if you have strong series against the Rockies, the Yankees, the Marlins, the Rays, and the Pirates, and then honestly the Reds that end the month back to back, and you're staring at, you're either in the wild card or you're like a game or 2 out at the beginning of September, you could build some really positive momentum going into September, where you're not talking about the Cardinals have to sustain this for a whole 90, 120 more days. We have like the Cardinals can look at themselves and be like, hey, we're in September right now. This is the team we have. We have like 18 games left in the season, and we just got to press the gas to the pedal and go for it. And we just came off of a great stretch where we just beat club after club after club. That's sometimes how this stuff works, is that you just build positive momentum. And then by that point, you honestly might throw JJ into the mix and like a Quinn Matthews into the mix and some of these fun names where it's like, hey, front office, we believe in this team. We're going to give you even more ammunition to go for it in this last month. I think that's the world where you end up being like, man, you look up and you're like, are the Mets really going to blow this? Because this happens every couple years or so, where there's a team that just crashes out and fades in the last month and a half of the year, and another team comes surging in. But there's also the potential that the Reds could be that team that surges in, or the Giants, or one of these other clubs. I just think it's worth talking about because it is within the range of outcomes right now. I would put it in the less than 10% range of outcomes, but it is possible. One thing I do think that would potentially hurt that, and we kind of both joked about it so far, but is the return of Nolan Arenado, because I mean, if
Can
it's
he just have the Garrett Hampson role and then just like come in defensively in late innings? Like,
I mean,
just do that.
I wish, but we know that's not going to happen. But that would be awesome if he came in for Gorman late in games. And to be fair, if Gorm wasn't hitting right now, Nato would for sure be better than Gorm. And honestly, with how bad his defense is right now, maybe he is an upgrade. I don't know. It's a weird spot to be in with how bad Gorman is defensively, and maybe they need to put Donnie over at third base on those days.
I was excited for the Gorman era before the home run because it meant the Mo interview was longer. But then I was immediately not excited because you don't get to hear Mo talk that much, and I'm gonna miss him. But no, don't press the button, please.
I won't. But there is the I mean, there's a world, again, I would put it very low, and I don't really want to chance it and see what happens. But there's a world where Nolan gets this rest here, and he's more of a league average or better hitter when he comes back, because to be fair, he was more like that earlier in the year. And then clearly some of these knick-knack injuries have hurt him along the way. And then he just had an awful July. Like, go look, it's like a 28 WRC plus on the month. It was so bad. But I'm very much in. I don't want to see Nato.
If you want the Cardinals to do the Tigers thing from last year, you need Sonny Gray to turn into Tarek Skubal, and you need Nolan Arenado to disappear like Javier Baez did.
Well, I don't know if you need Sonny Gray to be Tarek Skubal good, but I do think you're right that you probably need Nato to be Baez, because, yeah, that's brutal. But I mean, we're in agreement on that. But like, is there any value having Nato on this roster right now? I don't think there really is.
I mean, he really he doesn't even want to be here. You can't even say that.
I don't think that's true. No one said that, but it's pure speculation that he wouldn't be. But he's not. If he didn't want to be here, he wouldn't be going down to Jupiter right now to work back. Like,
no, I'm saying like he'd rather like be on the Dodgers or the Yankees or whatever.
Oh,
I don't know if he'd rather be on the Yankees at this point. That looks rough, but
yeah. I mean, if Nato, I would say if Nato would come back and be willing to play half the games, right, where it's like you play 4 out of every 8 games or 5 out of every 8 games, it wouldn't be the worst thing by any means. But I'm going to assume he's going to want to play every stinking day when he's back, and assuming he's not rebounded from being gone, because he's probably had to take some time to get his rhythm back too. I just don't like taking more at-bats away from these young guys as we're going through. But I do think that if I'm looking at the chat today, I feel like
no, I think people were just, I don't know.
People were a little excited about the game today. We got some back.
It was fun. I got to see Shota give up a homer to Pedro Paez, and that doesn't happen every day.
Hasn't he done that twice now to Paez? I don't know. I thought Paez had a huge home run.
Wynn did last time.
Okay, I thought at one point, I know Paez has a really big home run against the. Oh, it was a reliever, because I have a gif of the guy jumping up and down on the mound being so mad he gave up.
Was that Pozo?
No, this is from last year. But I do think Paez might have hit a home run off of Imanaga last year. But okay, here's one other random thing I think roster wise. Is it time for Garrett Hampson to just be off the roster? Like, wouldn't Nathan Church make sense for role, or Siani?
Is Garrett Hampson even like a real person? Like, I don't even.
He gets into the games.
I mean, yeah, he did the other day have a terrible run into a double play, but I feel like I'm not as mad about Garrett Hampson as most people because like he just never really plays.
Yeah.
Like how many at bats has he gotten in the last like 2 weeks? Like 3? Like that is what it is.
I mean, it is weird though when you're like struggling to fit guys into the lineup and then you start him in center field. And I understand there was a lefty on the mound and you have a bunch of lefties because Ollie got talked about, or someone asked Ollie about that, where it's like, well, like, why do you sit some of these guys? And he's like, well, we have so many lefties. Well, I'm like, well, again, I'm going to be honest. I think I would rather see Lars Nootbaar against a left-handed pitcher than Garrett Hampson. Like, put Lars in center then. Or honestly, I'd rather see Vic figure it out against a lefty than again Garrett Hampson. Like when they claimed Garrett Hampson, I was like, oh, this is interesting. Let's see what happens. But it wore off pretty quick. Like at some point, you got to stop saying this is interesting. Let's see what happens. I thought he can maybe give you okay production against lefties, but that doesn't even happen. So I'd rather see Michael Ciani get that start or Nathan Church, which again, I'm not. I mean, some people in the chat clearly think Nathan Church is the second coming of like some great Cardinal outfielder. Don't think that's happening. I think he's more of a fourth outfielder long term. But again, I think he probably gives you more value than Garrett Hampson. Right? Like and again, that role I don't care as much about because that player shouldn't be playing much. But I do think it's fair to say, like, if you've got some guys or Koperniak, if you've got guys that you're probably not keeping next year or long term don't have a huge role, like Nathan Church is going to have to be like what Lars Nootbaar was when he first came up in 2021, 2022, where he's going to have to earn his way into a significant role. Go ahead and give him a chance in that bench role. I don't know. I don't think it makes sense having all of these guys cook in AAA, but am I making too much of it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like a lot of the people talking about Nathan Church are the same people who are freaking out that the Dodgers claim Luken Baker and that somehow he would start over Freddie Freeman and Shohei Ohtani and hit 45 homers next year and got DFA'd 2 days later. So there you go.
The thing that I didn't get was like there are people immediately being like, how did they not trade him? And I'm like, I'm going to be honest. If they could have traded him, I would be shocked if they didn't. Like they had him sitting in AAA for the whole year and then DFA'd him. Like they weren't holding on to him and it's like one day be like, oh, never mind. It's
but like where was he gonna? People are freaking out that like, oh, he's on the Dodgers. He's gonna be the next big thing. Where was he gonna play?
I mean,
where was he gonna play?
I don't know.
Who was he gonna pinch hit for? He would just be a pinch hitter. If there's one team that does not need a DH and a first baseman, it's the Dodgers.
Like, I will say it would be pretty funny if Memphis had done that go away post for Luken Baker and then he gets DFA'd by the Dodgers. No one picks him up and he re-signs at the Cardinals and he gets back to Memphis and they're like, hey, a week later, you're back. But, oh, man.
Go hit nukes in the KBO, man.
Honestly.
He could probably tee off Eric Fetty, you know?
Yeah.
KBO MVP.
Hey, you love to see it. Anything else from today's game or picture-wise you want to cover? Obviously, we've got a significant series against the Rockies at home coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, like it's fairly important, you know.
It is.
Like you should take care of your business against the Rockies. You just beat the Dodgers and the Cubs, so
yeah. What are the pitching matchups this week? So Libby should be on the mound for one of them, I believe.
It doesn't matter who's on the mound this week. They should win all 3 games because the Rockies are just that bad.
Michaelis tomorrow. I'm guessing Libby the next.
Liberatore and McGreevy.
Okay.
Well, 2 lefties though, Freeland and Gomber.
Yeah. I guess this could be a bigger topic soon because I do think in the next couple episodes we should start talking more about JJ Weatherhold because it becomes more of a real conversation point. Because the people who are saying they should call him a couple weeks ago, it's like they never were going to do that because the prospect promotion incentive. If you don't know this already, a player can't spend more than 45 days on an active roster and remain a rookie. Obviously, we're almost past that point, if not already past that point. I think we're close to that point because August 15th, I think, would be the day around then. But the big thing is, or the other big thing is you can't cross over 130 at-bats in a season. And if you call him up now, he's going to do that unless you're going to sit him a lot. And so he wasn't going to come up. But do you think, based on what we've seen from JJ so far, whether they're in it or not, or I guess that impacts your point, but is there a world where JJ Weatherhold should, I guess not, is there a world? Do you think they should call up JJ Weatherhold? Stop prefacing it. Do you think JJ Weatherhold should be on this roster by the end of the year?
I think he should get the win treatment at some point, especially if they're out of it, where like, I think he should come up when he's not going to hit that limit and just get playing time and experience at the major league level. And if he's terrible, he's terrible. Like, I won't really read too much into it. I'm sure a lot of people will read into it and be like, oh no, it's the next Dylan Carlson. If he's not hitting like 400 with a 1.0 OPS. But, I think like you need to give him that experience, especially if you're not in it, just to see, so he can see what the league is like. Cause I think he'll be on the opening day roster pretty easily next year. So I don't think there's really much doubt unless he just like has a terrible spring or something, but like he's shown that he can handle it at the AAA level. He's shown more than Jordan Walker ever did at the minor league level at this point, I think. Unless Walker never really got that AAA experience. He just kind of got rushed up here, which is not his fault. I'm not blaming him for that, but, I don't think you're rushing JJ at all if you give him that experience and that chance at the end of the season. Honestly, I would be worried that they would be like 2 games out of it and they don't call him up because they're like, we don't know what we have and our lineup is doing kind of good. So I don't know if that would happen actually if they were playing better. But if they're struggling, which I think they will be, they should definitely call on him and see what happens.
Yeah, I think for both scenarios, it would make a lot of sense. Again, it's hard to project how he's going to be performing in 2 weeks here. Like if he goes on some big offer for a little bit, then it's like he should probably get through that slump first. But I do think, especially if they're out of it, getting JJ Weatherhold that experience, because it is like, to your point, this isn't Jordan Walker 2022 where there was hope from a lot of Cardinal fans that he's on the opening day roster in 2023, but there shouldn't have been an expectation of that. And even going into spring, it was more of a hope than expectation. Obviously, it was the wrong call to put him on the opening day roster. But like with Mason Wynn in 2023 at the end of the year, people knew like this guy is more than likely than not going to be a starting shortstop the next year. So let's get his feet wet. Your point, JJ Weatherhold, he's more likely than not, and even more so than Mason Wynn was last year, in my opinion, to be starting on your opening day roster next year. And so if that's the case, get that guy's feet wet and let him see that big league pitching and make those adjustments over the offseason and be ready to go. This guy is uber confident. Again, I'm going to preface it because Bernie prefaces it every time, but I like what he talks about with it. Like he's not Bryce Harper. We're not trying to say he's going to be that guy, but he's got that confidence of a guy like that. When he steps up to the plate, like I'm fully convinced JJ Weatherhold probably thinks he's the best player in the league. Like he's like, I'm going to be so like for as high as expectations that people have on him, he thinks he's better. And he's not cocky about it, but he's like got that like right competitive gamer nature that when he's on the mound, he's not afraid of anything. And I want to get that guy in the clubhouse immediately around guys, around the big league coaching staff, and getting experience against big league pitching as soon as possible, especially if you're out of it, but probably if you're in it too, because even if he's not playing every day, like he can spell Mason a little bit at shortstop, he can play some third, he can play some second, other guys can move around. But once JJ Weatherhold does end up on this roster, he immediately is the guy that is prioritized the most, in my opinion. And at AAA right now, for as much information as we do want on Gorman and Newbar and Walker and these guys, everyone else in the organization right now is second fiddle to JJ Weatherhold in terms of who you need to be prioritizing the future of right now. And so whatever the Cardinals think is best for JJ Weatherhold's future has to happen right now. So if they think the best thing for him is coming up and producing, whether it's or trying to produce, whether it's they're in the race or not in the race, that's what has to happen. If they're convinced, and it would be unpopular, but if they're convinced that, hey, he needs a little bit more time down there and let's wait till 2026, then that's the right thing to do, even if it'd be fun to call him up. And I'm talking about, this is a new player development staff. So I get in the past years, it's like, well, they messed up Dylan Carlson and Jordan Walker. All that. It's like, well, the old regime did. We got to give Rob Serfolio, Chaim Bloom, and his team a little bit of some slack here and a little bit of patience. I know Mo asks for it all the time, but these guys haven't asked for it yet. This is their first year. Like, we actually have to see what happens. And so if they believe it, then it's like, hey, this isn't the same old Cardinals. This is a different Cardinals. And I honestly kind of doubt that the DeWitts would be like, oh, don't call up JJ Weatherhold. It's like, it wouldn't affect the service time at all, assuming they're going to have him on the opening day roster. So do it. And then I do think something I want to talk about soon is like JJ and Mason Wynn this offseason, to me, clear extension candidates, like especially JJ Weatherhold. I would be so aggressive on that one. Try to get it done, get him at as affordable of a rate as you possibly can long term, because the Cardinals are not going to spend big money long term. Then you got to get these guys signed early. And Wynn, I don't know if he has star potential like I think JJ could. I'm not saying JJ's going to be a star, and I think it's probably more likely than not he's not a star, but he's got the potential in my opinion. Mason Wynn, gonna have to unlock a little bit offensively to get there, but the defense is so stinking good, and he's at least proven he can be a league average bat long term. That you got a safe floor with Mason Wynn, and a safe floor isn't like a good player. He could be even better, and that guy's gonna price himself out of St. Louis quickly if you don't sign him soon either. So yeah, like Kareem just pointed out, 20 outs above average at shortstop right now. He leads all baseball in outs above average. Like he should be in contention for the Platinum Glove. It'll probably be PCA, which I shouldn't be if based on what's been going on with Mason Wynn right now. But anyways,
Mason Wynn's been better hitter recently than PCA too. Anyway, sorry, I didn't say that.
No, I mean, yeah, it's true.
All I'm saying is for all the PCA MVP guys, I've never seen Ohtani or Schwarber get pinch hit for in the ninth inning, but whatever.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We were just talking last week about how this team needed to do a full rebuild, and there's no pieces in the corner, and we're like, oh, there are 3.5 games out of the playoff race.
Can both things be true?
I don't know.
I think they can. I think you can be a borderline playoff team and still need to rebuild.
Why? None of these guys are on expiring contracts.
Well,
it's not like the 2021 Cubs when all those guys were on expiring contracts, and you weren't going to have them next year.
What are you building toward, though? Are you building toward being a World Series contender or a playoff contender? Like, what do you think the end goal is?
But these are all like supplemental pieces. You're a piece or two away. Like, this is what I've been saying the whole time. You're a piece or two away from being real.
Okay, for a couple things. I know we've talked about it before already. Like, if you're multiple years away from being a World Series contender, then you are in a rebuild because Newbar and Donovan are 2 years away from free agency. Burleson and Gorman are 3 years away from free agency. Like, these guys are going to have to get paid soon. And so that means if you're like 2 years away from being a World Series contender, then some of these guys are going to have to start getting big free agent contracts right when your young core is finally developing. And it's like, okay, so you're paying the supplemental guys big money. Like, shouldn't you be going out and spending for some stars at that point? And the second part of it too is I understand the Cardinals haven't had injuries this year, and it's like, lucky them, good job. But like, even if you went out,
I still think they have.
Okay, they have, but
those are real injuries.
Okay.
Also, Eric Petty was basically injured the whole year.
Yeah. Okay. No, not fully, because he was pretty good through late June. Like, and I know the peripheral stats are bad. I was one of the people calling it, but like he was getting the results, and that's what wins games. The advanced metrics don't win games. They tell you what he's going to be, but he was winning games for you at that point. Or the Cardinals offense wasn't scoring.
Basically, we talk about guys getting hurt, but you're basically flushing like $30 million down the toilet by pitching Michaelis Fetty and having like.
I understand that, but right now you don't have internal answers for that. You just don't. Like, they don't have, like, I guess Quinn Matthews could be that, but we're also projecting these things. Like, we just are. And like, they don't have the.
I feel like Quinn Matthews would be a lot better than both of them, but
until
recently, or not a lot better, but like better.
Okay, but like until his last 2 starts going into that, Quinn had walked 30 batters in 30 innings. Like, and he was doing it at AAA. I don't think it was going to go very well at the major league level. My point is like, that I think they're not far away from being a wild card team, because they're literally in the race right now. But we're talking about being a World Series contender, and that's going to take longer to rebuild. And that's the thing they need to be prioritizing rebuilding, not trying to patchwork it so that you have a puncher's chance of making the playoffs and like a lottery ticket chance of making a deep playoff run. It's that you need to have the ability to actually be someone that is reckoned with from pole to pole. And that's not what this team is. And it's not going to take one off season to fix that. And I'd much rather have them be looking at the farm system and figuring out how to overhaul that, which they've been doing for a couple of years now. It's just going to take some time, because once you get all the things in place, then you just need time. Like, these guys don't develop like that. You have to give it some time. You have to get the right talent in the system. You have to give them time to develop. I don't think they're close to being a World Series contender. I don't think they're close to being a legit contender, even if you went out and spent. But guess what? They're also not doing that. They're not going out. They're not signing Kyle Tucker and signing 2 frontline starters. Like, we shouldn't even. I don't even think it's worth like debating about, because it's so out of the realm of ever happening that it's like, why are we even like trying to say like this should happen? Because it's just not. Like, and honestly, I don't blame them for not doing that. I'd rather not get locked into those kind of contracts right now. Call me in 3 years though, because that's when they should start really getting locked in those kind of contracts and free agency. But right now I'd rather be prioritizing the future. But I do think it's possible to think they need a rebuild, But a rebuild, I think people always attach rebuild to tear it to the studs, and that's not like rebuild doesn't have to be that. You can continue to build upon what you already have at the major league level, but you're rebuilding organizationally. And I mean, honestly, if we sat down and talked about who's going to be here in 3 years, I think it's probably a pretty short list. I don't think a lot of these guys are here in 2028.
Ollie better still be here.
We'll see. Oh, maybe it'd be Pujols by that point, Yanni, but I don't know. I think it'd be Ollie. But well, 2028 is a long ways from now. That lot can change. But
if they just sign Jose, I know people don't want to hear it again, but if they just sign Jose Quintana, they'd be in a playoff spot. What do I know?
I don't. Well, so are they 3.5 out right now? Okay, maybe they're in one right now.
They just need to, like, if they had won 2 more Fetty starts, then they would be in a playoff spot.
2 more? Aren't they 3 out?
But those flip.
Oh well. I guess it depends who they beat, though. Anyways, but yeah, it's a fun conversation. So, I feel like we've covered quite a bit of bases today, and this Rocky series will give us some more to talk about, and we can continue to zoom out big picture. But thanks for tuning in. As always, it's been a fun chat today. If you're in the stream now, like and subscribe. It helps channel a ton. Or if you're watching later, we would really appreciate it. It's been a fun. We've been trying to keep up with the comments as it goes through, and I feel like it's been a fun time so far. Make sure to check out 314 Sports Cards and Collectibles as always. Make sure to go over on Underdog. If you do want to go to a game, though, or a concert or anything else between now and the end of the year, use that code NEWT and you'll get $20 off a purchase of $50 or more on SeatGeek. Again, it doesn't have to be just for Cardinal games. You can go to other sporting events, concerts, stuff like that. We really appreciate your guys' support as always. You make this really fun, even when the Cardinals make us want to pull our hair out. And honestly, it feels like we hop on this podcast and for 2 weeks straight, we're like, this is so fun. They're so fun to watch. And then 2 weeks straight of, oh, they're horrible. It's just this team. Make my blood pressure rise and fall consistently. But y'all are fun. We really appreciate you. We'll be back probably on Wednesday and with another episode. But until then, thanks for tuning in. See you next time. Thanks, Mike.